This is my 81-year-old grandfather, about to pop a wheelie on my uncle's three-wheeler. Born in 1935 on a small family farm, hard work has kept him youthful throughout life. His history parallels World War II and the Agricultural Revolution, which introduced affordable machinery to rural farmers. My story starts in 19th century Holland, where the first of my family emigrated. While the origin of my family is not confirmed, the family Bibles uncovered by my great-great-grandfather while making our family tree suggests our Dutch background. Up until my grandfather's generation, my family settled and lived in Hummelstown, Pennsylvania. This is where my grandfather's parents, Austin Beachell and Ethel Hawthorne, lived. On September 11, 1935, my grandfather, the first of 8 children, was born on their small 2-acre farm. He was named after an uncle, Jim Guthrie, pictured here at Bullfrog Valley, another farm owned within the family. While their farm was small, they raised multitudes of pigs, chickens, goats, and vegetables such as corn, potatoes, carrots, and tomatoes. In the early 20th century, electricity still had not yet been distributed to rural America by way of the New Deal. Because of this, my grandfather's parents had instilled in him traditional family values typical of the 1940s lifestyle. They were faithful Lutherans, going to church every Sunday, and had large meals together every night. While Austin worked in the steel mill for a meager $24 a week, Ethel stayed at home and tended the farm. This reduced post-Depression era salary was typical since the economy still had not fully recovered from the Black Friday crash. The farm animals and copious amounts of vegetables produced had to sustain the growing family. For extra income, Ethel sold eggs in town. The Dutch background from Hummelstown residents significantly influenced my great-grandparents' traditions. Red beet eggs and warm apple pie and milk were commonly served. Even today, my grandfather eats his apple pie this way and tries to pass this custom on to his grandchildren, though none of us have developed a taste for it yet. During World War II, when my grandfather was around 8 years old, he remembers that a horse and buggy used to go through Main Street, Hummelstown, advertising rags, bags, bones, and bottles, collecting scraps for the war effort. The early years of his life were also the height of the Agricultural Revolution. Because of this economic development during my grandfather's childhood, he developed a passion for tractors, specifically farmhauls. My grandfather attended Sandy Hollow School, a one-room schoolhouse, up until 8th grade. He swears the path to school was uphill, both ways. At 16 and over 6 feet tall, my grandfather did not get along well with his siblings. As a result, he moved into the now empty chicken house, furnishing it with a wood stove and small cot. Here he lived for 2 years. When he moved out of the chicken house, he left a legacy for his younger siblings, who kept using it for years. Right after high school, my grandfather joined the Air Force and stayed on as a mechanic for 29 years at Westover Air Force Base. It was around this time that he met my grandmother, Beverly Bailey. While my grandfather was starting his military career, my grandmother got her degree in nursing. They were married in 1959 after my grandfather's conversion to Catholicism. My great-great-grandfather never found out from my grandpa that he had converted in order to marry my grandma. He said, "My grandfather would roll over in his grave if he ever knew I had converted. There was nothing he hated more than blacks and Catholics." This prejudice was common, especially in the midst of the civil rights movement and the activity of the Ku Klux Klan, to which my great-great-grandfather was a member. This year, my grandparents will be celebrating their 57th wedding anniversary. My father, the third of their 5 children, was born in 1965. He remembers frequent visits to Ethel and Austin, eating apple pie and avoiding the mean mule out back. Here's Ethel in her later years before she died in 2001. Today you can find my grandparents in their recliners. My grandpa still keeps up his passion for tractors, restoring the ones he grew up driving and giving them to his children. Throughout my life, I have noticed that although my grandfather was taken out of the farm was never lost in him.